Well, I'm 43, so we can say I'm in my middle life. I can tell you that I'm thinking different than when I was in my 30s or my 20s. And I, I'm not sure, I cannot, like I could really be geeky about it and say, I can't tell you why I'm thinking different, but you can attribute it, maybe it's a trend that people in their 40s think in a particular kind of way. And I do have, I guess there's a biological component to it. I don't feel young. I don't feel old either, but I don't feel young anymore. And that's very real now. Whereas somehow in my 30s I felt young, which is a word that means a lot, but anyways, people in their 40s will understand what I mean. And now I no longer feel young, but I don't feel old. So it's the first time in my life that it hits me, I'm not young anymore. So I guess that's a kind of like brain status, a certain level of development in my brain, and a certain level of experiences and integration of experiences. And when I have time, I always have time, I meditate, but in my meditations I'm busy with other things. Funny to say it. Anyways, there's clearly moments in my life where I look back. But I've done a lot of digesting over the past 20, 25 years. So it's not a look back I'm sad, but it's more I look back and it's like it's dawning on me. The reality of my mortal life is dawning on me. I don't miss my past, but I realize, wow, that's gone. And when I was in my 30s, it didn't feel like this. And in my 20s, it didn't feel like that at all. I was having a conversation, I don't know who, just a couple of days ago, Saturday. And it's a buddy of mine, I don't know, he's I think 27. I said, dude, you realize it's been 27 years I graduated high school. Right? It's like, it's an instant, 27 years, suddenly it's like, wow, high school was so important. It took so much from me. It took so much of my time, so much of my resources. It was so dramatic, so traumatizing in a way, so pivotal. And as I remember in my 20s, my point of reference was high school. Now it's been 5 years, we're out of high school, we had our 5-year reunion. Then you go to university, I did at least. And somehow high school was kind of like a form of milestone. And then when you look back and you realize that milestone is so far away, it's like it doesn't even exist anymore. Yet somehow it does, but I don't want to talk about high school per se. It's just that there's a lot of that happening in my system. But the core of what I'm trying to say is that it's a realization that time passes, has passed. And through the process, I cannot say I'm questioning myself, because I've done a lot of integrating, but I can imagine the person who's not done this is he's gonna be depressed. I can really imagine it. I've done a lot of processing for easily 24, 25 years. So it's not I'm processing my past, it's more time has passed. But I can imagine that a person who hasn't digested anything, it's going to all start to hit him, because it's like suddenly I'm not young anymore. Maybe they haven't taken care of their health, so they feel old. I've been taking care of my health intensely for at least 20 years. It's been a fulcrum in my life. So it's not I feel old or I feel I can't do this anymore or can't do that anymore, but I'm clearly not young anymore. But so it's not age because I'm hurting that's striking me. It's not I look old and I feel ugly. It's not, so I don't have that, but I can imagine that a person who never took care of his health, or not as intensely as I have, and wakes up and has diseases or takes medication or has all kinds of aches and pains in their bodies, the culmination of that being in that point of your life, plus all the problems and headaches that come with it, and then looking back and saying, well, what did I do with my time? What did I accomplish? Was it worth it? Because I've just invested. We don't really remember our youth. So it kind of somehow doesn't count, but I have invested more than 40 years of my life, and what do I have? And imagine you wake up and you have fuck all. Maybe I have a good, decent job. Do I really like it? A lot of people hate their jobs, yet your job takes a lot of your time, a lot of your attention. Look at my relationships. How's my relationship with my parents? How are my relationships with my friends? If I have a wife, how's my relationship with my wife? Am I divorced? Probably. How's my I have children, right? So when I'm 43, I'm going to be 44 in a minute. So it's like, well, I know a person, she has a daughter, she's 16. And I started business at the age of 25. And so she had her daughter at the age of more or less the same time. So 16 years of investment, what do I have in return? So I've invested all these years in my family and my children. What do I get in return for everything I've invested? So everybody knows that if you want to plant a tree, it's going to take some time. So part of youth is learning patience, understanding things take time to grow. But when you arrive in your 40s and you've now had patience and been patient, and you look at the tree that you've grown, and you're like, well, what the fuck do I have? Am I happy with this? Fuck happy, am I content? Does this satisfy me? Do I want to grow it more? Because I'm happy I worked hard. For 20 years, that means in my 20s, past high school, to a certain level of maturity, I've invested 20 plus years of my life into this. Was this worth it? Do I want to grow this more? Is this a good foundation? Or what I have is fucking shit. Not fucking shit because I'm a loser. Fucking shit in the sense like, this is nonsense. I don't want more of this tomorrow, right? If you have a tree and it's age 10, tomorrow it's going to be age 20, you're going to have 2 times more tree, right? So I'm in my 40s and I look at my life and I say, well, do I want more of this? Or do I want something else? So imagine you wake up and you realize, I don't want more of this, I want something else. But I've just spent 20 plus years growing this, and I'm not realizing that I'm not going to get these 20 years again. So for sure, I'm going to feel sad, and for sure, I'm going to have a form of depression, of fatigue, deep fatigue. And your average person, their lives are full of fatigue. They exert themselves. They never learn they never learn energy management. They're stressed, more stressed, anxious, trying to prove something to everyone, to themselves, their families, their co-workers. Fight. Everything is a struggle. This is your average person. And I hope this comes across with full of respect, because it is. So that wasn't my case. I had it, but my primary concern was always to figure out what the fuck is going on. So it's good for me, right? But a lot of people never had that chance. So they wake up at 40 or in their 40s, and there's a form of integration and realization. I'm not young anymore, and I have all these burdens and problems. And what I've worked for, a lot of people have nothing. Some people work hard and they look at what they have. They maybe live in the best of suburbs, in the best homes, and have fancy cars. This means nothing for the heart. Do I have a form of content? Do I have a form of peace? Do I feel I'm on the right track? And death is not so far. And that's what I'm trying to say, and I insist on this. I've always thought of death, but I've never thought of death like I do in my 40s, and I guess in my 50s it'll be the next level of that thinking process. But it has a very unique texture. I didn't have that in my 30s. It was more philosophical. Now it's like a neurological realization that my time is not unlimited. And I have, God willing, I have had half. So if I have another half, I feel also very enthusiastic at the same time, because I'm like, well, I didn't know fuck all. So I started getting a real education around the age of 21 when I met my spiritual master. I wasted 21 years of my life, so look at what I was able to accomplish in 20 years. So that is amazing for me. So I say, if I get another 40 years, because I'm just getting better every passing day, I'm better. My nervous system is more efficient. Yeah, I'm not 18 and I don't want to be 18, and I can't do the things, well, actually I could do things better now than when I was 18. But clearly there's a form of vigor that I don't have anymore, and my energy is invested elsewhere. Whereas when I was 18 or 22, well, I had a lot of I was busy with less things so I could put more energy playing basketball. No, I don't care, right? So my life feels, I feel a form of increased enthusiasm. As I look back at what I've accomplished, I don't feel a form of depression because I'm like, well, if I'm blessed and God gives me another 40 years, what can I do in 40 years? Now, what I want to make sure is that I don't lose time, because now time is real for me. It's like money. How can I now, and not only, so now I have a realization of the value of time that I didn't have when I was younger. I also have become efficient. I know what I do, I know what I don't do. I'm not trying to find myself. I know who I am, I know what I do, and I want to do more of it and improve at it. And everything in my life, I want to make it more efficient so that God willing, in the next 40, 50 years that I have, I can accomplish all the things I aspire to accomplish. So this is my position, and I've worked since I was a kid. I've been thinking about this since I'm a kid. So I've worked to get myself in a position where I'm at middle age. I'm like, this is awesome. I have an amazing opportunity. I feel very blessed, considering my upbringing, considering how ignorant I was, and considering how much I had to learn in such a short amount of time. I did very good for myself, thank God, and thank all the teachers that I have had, that allowed me to process so fast. So now what am I going to do with the remaining time I have? I'm on my trajectory. It's not I have to change my trajectory. I just want to take it to the next level. Well, it's not everyone who's in such a position. And my heart goes out to them, because if they're not in such a position, they're going to feel depressed. It's only natural that they will feel depressed, because you look at, you're like, well, what did I do? Where did I go wrong? And they don't have the answers. So imagine, they don't have the answers. If they had the answers, they would have corrected the problem a long time ago. So now they said, this is what I have. And I hated it. And in your 40s, you don't have the patience you used to have in your 20s, because 20s comes with a form of patience. Even though you may be a moron, instinctively you know that it takes a certain time to grow a tree, so it comes with a certain kind of resilience, a patience that you're going. But in your 40s, you're like, I don't have patience for this. I have to have patience to hang out with an 18-year-old girl. I'm not gonna go over this again. I don't want to be in high school again. I don't want to have this cheap conversation. I'm not in the mood to go to a bar and flirt. I don't have patience for this. I've done this, right? So you're now in your 40s and you have to somehow start over. But you don't have the same patience you once upon a time used to have. And you don't necessarily know how to do it better, because you never learn. So that makes you feel heavy. It's heavy on the heart. It's like, I have to start over. I don't know how to start over, or am I really clear? So you see, this is cliche. 40 guys in his 40s acting out, getting a motorcycle. It's very cliche. But what does that cliche say? It's like, I just want to fucking live. Because for the past 20, 30, 40, depending on their upbringings, right? But let's say from after high school, and some people even during high school, all I've done is toil and hardships and work hard and trying to find my way, and this is what I have, and this is, fuck it. I just want to fucking live. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of the headaches. I'm sick of the burdens. I'm sick of her nagging. I'm sick of the child always unhappy. I'm sick of giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and not really getting anything in return worth my while and my time. And if now the man says this and communicates this to the people around them, they're going to get very upset and they're going to get hurt. And I can understand their position, because everybody is kind of stuck. But what that man is looking for, he can't find it in those relationships. He was meant to find it in life itself and the manifestation of life itself in his life with a small L. But he didn't grow the right garden, dare I say. Now, this is an extreme example, if we can say it like this, or the whole thing is just like, none of this is what I want. But imagine you wake up one day and you're like, none of this is what I want. I remember in high school, fuck high school. When we graduated high school and we started going to university, I was always a philosopher type of kind of person. I didn't know who I was and what I wanted to do yet. And then I hadn't taken my so-called thinking skills to the next level. So I would sit down and ask my friends who never thought for a second. I'm like, we were in engineering at the time. It's like, why are you engineering? Because this is what we do. I'm like, yeah, but like, do you really like it? Because some people love engineering. They're made to do that. And yeah, we had a capacity to, I can be an engineer, I can do a lot of things. I'm like, but do you really like this? I had another friend who went to study in law. I'm like, but why are you in law? Nobody ever stopped or to think. It's like, what do I want from life? What is life really about? So a few people do that and they get lost, and some people get lost and become eternally a hippie or whatever you want, like endlessly traveling, aimlessly wandering. And those who are very like strict and have everything straightforward judge kind of that person. And I understand why, but that's not the point. The point of what I'm trying to say is like a lot of people never stop or have the time or the privilege or the opportunity to figure things out. Like, who am I? What do I want? So when you're in your 20s and you're like, you have all that fire and then you're going to conquer the world because you're a fucking moron and you think the world is to be conquered and you're pushing and pushing and you want to innovate and you want to you have all that, the fire of a man in his 20s. My fire hasn't diminished for a second. It's just, I don't have the fire of a man in his 20s, and thank God. I have the fire of a mature man. And that's like sharp and precise and doesn't waste and doesn't want to waste, and I could burn your fucking ass if I want to, but why would I? Right? In your 20s, you're just on fire. So you put all that energy in your 20s, but you never actually thought, like, who am I and what I really want? So imagine now you wake up in your 40s when somehow within your nervous system there's a form of integration of what I've accomplished and where I'm at, and you look back and you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I just done it because that's what I did. I did it because that was on my path. I did it because that was easy for me. I did it because to please this person and that person, to impress this person. But what about me? I don't even know. So that's what the motorcycle kind of represents. Like, I just want to fucking live. I want to get fucking laid. Just want to enjoy pussy. It's not about I want to be young. It's I want to enjoy pussy. I deserve, like I'm a grown man. Because in your 20s, do you really enjoy pussy? Yeah, you're like a little fucking horny little fucking rabbit. All you want to do, everything is about proving yourself. When you arrive in your 40s, you literally arrive somewhere. You kind of like, you're like, well, I used to think this way. I was really dumb. I'm like, nah, you're young and full of fire, and probably your fire is untamed and undirected and not properly channeled. You're 40, I'm not going to go, fuck, who thinks what? I just want to enjoy what's mine, what I've cultivated, what I've developed, and I want to grow on this. So I just want to live. But then you're surrounded in an environment that is unaligned or toxic for you because that's what you've grown. And I just want to fucking live. That's what the motorcycle kind of represents. But now imagine, okay, so I'm going to change my career. Yeah, but like, you want to change your career? Maybe you're going to, instead of selling hockey sticks, you're going to sell a car, or you're going to, anything you need to learn, right? Unless you just, it's a small shift and instead of selling insurance, I'm going to sell software. Fine, maybe you prefer the software, maybe the software saves humanity in one way and you feel it gives you a little more. No, but if you want a really great shift, a lot of time you got to go to school to learn something else, to develop a craft that you've never had the chance to learn, or it becomes a hobby. But hobby is a hobby. I spend, like, a person works 40, 50 hours and you don't care for it, or it's not aligned with you, it's not a reflection of yourself and who you are, and you don't even know that. So that takes time to figure things out for yourself. So imagine all of this lands on you. I don't know who the hell I am. I don't know what I like, what I don't like. I'm doing this job because I have to, and I have to continue. I can't stop, because if I stop, then how am I going to pay the bills? Not everybody's a crypto millionaire, meaning people fucking have to work. I can't quit. This person depends on me. This person depends on me. This person depends on me. So in your 40s, I'm in my 40s, I'm repeating myself, I have lots of responsibilities. I'm happy, responsibility is power. But I've chosen what I've signed contracts for. Because I was guided properly, say, hey, don't just sign any contract, you stupid moron, because you're feeling kind of horny, or your emotions are taking over, and now you're in a marriage that you don't even know nothing about love. Now you're married and you're stuck with a child that, like, it's not I don't love the child, but I didn't want that, it happened. I'm like creating my life with the guidance and the flow, thank God. But so imagine now you wake up and you have nothing but responsibilities, but you don't really have power. You have burdens. So it's not really responsibility, they're burdens. And you don't want to admit that to yourself, but somehow in your system you feel it. Your nervous system is the basic primal intelligence. You feel heavy. Well, I don't feel fucking heavy. I feel heavy when there's one thing that's not flowing, and I promise you I'm going to fix it. And then the flow's back and I'm like more buoyant than a fucking 15-year-old. I'm like, let's go. I'm all about it. I'm happy. I'm enthusiastic. Enthusiasm is the key word. Yes. So power equals responsibility. In my life, power, responsibility, it's one. For your average 40-year-old, it's burden. So they call it responsibility. You're responsible for your children. It's like, no, I got a burden because, and they're probably never going to admit that to themselves because it would be hard, let alone admit it to the people around them. It's like, well, I didn't really want you. I didn't really want that. But imagine you wake up and say, I didn't want that. How sad your heart is. And then you can't even admit it to yourself because psychologically you have to protect yourself. So you can't even speak this to you. That means you can't even let that level of truth, which is not so deep, but kind of deep, you can't even let that truth circulate inside of you unless you get some help and you're intelligent enough to get some help. Because once you say that, it's like a bell. Something shifts. It's like, well, I don't want that. I never wanted that. You can't go back. Something has to change. And that means you need to have a certain kind of energy level and a mental buoyancy to be able to create something new. Right? So anyways, life is complex. But I can assure you that in your 40s, you've been around long enough, and unless you're still traveling the world with your backpack and you've never settled, that means you've never built anything, which some people do. I've met a lot of those. I've traveled, I've met those. They're particular cats. They have no roots. So they have a form of freedom. But when I look at it I'm like, you ain't got no freedom, you ain't got no power. You ain't got fuck all. But you have no burden, respect. Yeah, but power and responsibility isn't a burden. It's an opportunity. So I understand the hippie mindset that he didn't want a burden because he saw adulthood as burden because that's what he saw in his parents and his ancestors. So this is just shit. And I understand. So now let's go back to the person who's got burdens. It's like, this is heavy. I can't really make a change. I can barely fucking move my shoulder without somebody screaming at me because they expect me to keep my shoulder here because there's no room. So anyways, my heart goes out to people that they can't even speak to themselves and acknowledge a certain truth because it would create like ripples. And they can't handle the ripples because the ripples of change make the whole structure, which is just tension, start to shift, and then you can't even handle it because you need a reserve, you need energy to deal with change. And most people, they don't have energy. They're already exhausted at the age of 16. Look at the 16-year-old. They're exhausted. Yeah, but they're 16, so biology is still up and going. They're at that phase, but they're exhausted. Imagine you're at 40, where that biological peak is, well, if you're healthy, you're at a kind of like a still point. You can stretch it if you're good, right? But your average person is already exhausted in their teens, in their 20s, they're burning the candles on both sides. In their 30s, they're already like, in their 40s, they don't have juice no more. They've spent it all. They've compensated and exhausted their system with compensation. They don't have much. They can't even get much from coffee anymore, right? That's the level of exhaustion there is. Their disease and distress is so high. So it's like, how do I deal with change if I don't even have energy? So that adds to the depression because I can't do anything about my situation. And a lot of depression, the feeling of depression comes from impotence. I'm powerless. I can't do anything. It's like let's say somebody's stepping on my foot. So if you're responsible, that means if you got power, you're going to respond. You're going to move your foot, kick the person, punch the person, adjust yourself. I don't know, you're going to do something. But that requires a certain capacity to receive the data, process it. There's somebody stepping on my foot. I'm simplifying something that's very complex, but we all live this at multiple levels. Then I have to have the energy to mobilize the resources to take an action and deal with the consequences of my action. So what happens now if I have 1,000 feet stepping on me and I'm exhausted? I can't do anything, or I don't feel I'm capable of. And that's a resource reality. People want to dismiss this and say it's all in the mind. I'm like, yeah, okay, I agree. There's definitely state of mind counts for one thing, but it's like I can have a state of mind for change. I don't have the energy for it. I don't have the resource for it. Anybody who's ever done sparring, the number one thing that you really need is endurance. That's the first thing. It's for me, in my world, it's more important than you know how to punch, kick. I'm just saying, it's one element. If you know how to, if you have endless energy, it doesn't matter. If a person hits you, you take a blow, you still go. If you don't have a lot of energy, each blow like makes you sink, and then, right? So we're talking about a person who doesn't have energy to make, because change requires energy. To deal with the modification, it requires energy, so the person's exhausted. So my heart goes out to that person. So then a sense of depression starts to arise because I can't do anything. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And on top of that, the mind is extremely clouded. You can't even see, you can't even understand your situation, and your mind is so clouded on top of that. And you don't know what voice is true or not true. You're in a tough place. So really, shout out to people who are in such a position. My heart goes out to you, and I understand. I feel you. That's what I gotta say. But what you gonna do? But this is not the kind of talk where I'm gonna challenge you and say what you're gonna do. This is the kind of talk where I say I feel you, right? But so you can understand a person in that situation why they feel depressed. I'm in my 40s. I've lost my youth. That's how they feel. I don't feel I've lost my youth. I've made the best of what I had, and I'm very, very, very blessed and happy to be where I am because everything I want is in front. But I'm lucky and fortunate and blessed because I was able to grow that. Imagine now you didn't have that. So you ain't got the front, what's ahead of you is dark. You don't want it. You don't have energy. You don't have resources. All you have is burden, and you don't see a way out. Obviously, you're going to feel depressed. And you don't even have money to buy a motorcycle. Of course you're going to feel heavy. Of course you're going to feel an immense sadness that's like almost undescribable. Like, I'm sad. Like I've wasted my life. And I don't know what to do or what I can do or if I can do something. And I don't even have the energy for it. And nobody around me really gets it. If I speak to my partner, let's pretend that you still have a wife. She doesn't fucking care. She doesn't give a fuck. She'll sympathize with you a day or two or three, but she doesn't give a fuck. And if you say the wrong thing, it'll trigger her, and she'll get upset at you. And let's pretend you're in a relationship, right? Because this is the modern age where more 50% at least are alone, right? So let's say that you're in a relationship of some kind. If you say something, she'll you know how it is. She's going to be immediately offended, even though what you're saying ain't got nothing to do with her. It's got to do with you. But for sure, she'll take it as an offense because on her side of the fence, she's doing everything in her power to make her life wonderful, and you're a part of that, and she's doing everything to make you happy, but you're never happy, and because she cannot make you happy, obviously. But that's not the point. So if you say something, it's going to create noise. So you're going to shut up. You're going to keep it to yourself if you're even able to acknowledge it to yourself. So you're kind of like, you're stuck. It's a tough place to be, and it's understandable. And I genuinely sympathize with people who are in such a position. Because I'm in my 40s, and all my friends, all the people I grew up with are in their 40s. So it's like, I feel that phase. It's the people I grew up with, that I love, that I snowboarded with, that I played hockey with, that I partied with, that I was drunk with, that I did stupid things with, that I started to meditate with. I'm like, these are my friends. I understand their position, and I saw their lives, and I saw their choices, and I'm like, and nobody understood me when I was a kid. Not to make this about me. It's like, well, I see where you're going. You're going to go in the same direction our parents went. I'm like, well, I know where that leads. I don't want that. So I took a different path and took the time to consider my thing because I could. And because my parents were fortunate enough to be able to help me sustain a lifestyle while I figured my shit out. Not everybody had this opportunity. Anyways, the point is, I saw them make their choices. So when I look at some of their pictures, or I come in contact with them, I'm not gonna talk, right? I stay in my zone, I stay in my space. I don't see my old friends anymore because our paths are so far from one another. Exactly for that reason. Because they became burdened, and I've become empowered. And the empowered and the burdened, where are you gonna meet? Like, I'm not gonna hang out with you, man. You're low vibration, man. You got only problems. I only have opportunities. I can't hang out with you. I really love you, dude. But when we were having these chit-chats by the lake or by the river, smoking a joint, when we were in 19 having these conversations and me telling you these funny things that you say, hey man, you're funny, man. I'm like, nah, you see? Anyways, it's like I can't spend time like that. I invest my time, and that's not a good investment. So all this to say, my heart goes out to these people, and if you want to get yourself out of that, there's definitely a way, but you got to be willing to make certain sacrifices and learn a new skill set, and you're late, and you have to come to terms with the fact that you're late, and it's not going to be easy. Otherwise, you're going to stay in a state of desperation or desperateness, despair, depression, and hopefully pray to God that when you get a little older, you don't even have energy to be depressed anymore. So it's going to be camouflaged once again, because that's when you don't have energy, you don't have symptoms. This is a secret. I'm telling it to you. When your body gives you symptoms, it's because there's something still alive in you that is able to communicate that something's off. The less you have energy, the less symptoms you have. So a lot of people say, I never have any cold, I never have a flu. I'm like, yeah, obviously by your lifestyle, your system is toxic, but your body is not even able to respond anymore. Anyways, side tangent. A person who's in such a position, my heart goes out to them. I really get it. Because I saw your choices. I saw how you constructed your life. And I knew it when I was young. I'm like, that's going to be like my dad. That's like heavy. That's what a grown-up is. That's what Peter Pan never wanted to be. That's what I never wanted to be. Who the fuck wants to be like a grown-up with their bills and their problems and their wives that can't stand them? This is not to criticize her. And their children, your daughter, despises you because you're a fucking loser. No matter how much you try and how hard you do, you don't know why. And your son wants nothing to do with you. He wants to be a fucking rapper. He wants nothing to do with you because look at you. But imagine the pain, because you just invested, let's say your son is 15 years, you love your son, you go to work, you hate your fucking job, you do what you got to do, you try to find a middle ground, and your son despises you, he wants to be some kind of vagabond, disgusting prick on TV, and wants nothing to do with you. Like imagine the sting in the heart of a father or a middle-aged man. Your daughter, she doesn't respect you. She doesn't want you to hear nothing from you. She wants nothing to do with you. Or if she's kind, because there's some of them still exist. She listens, but she doesn't apply because she doesn't respect you really. It's all a facade. And you as a man, you can feel it. Nobody respects me. I don't have any authority, even in my fucking house. So this is for sure in your 40s. For sure. So when we bring all these variables and we're at a stage where the nervous system is coming to a certain kind of like, it's coming to us before it kind of re-begins, right? Does that make sense? I hope so. Right, that's the 40s. It's like, okay, let's sum up what we've done before we reorganize ourselves to dispatch the remaining resources that we have for the next half. So you're at that phase and you look back and you're like, for sure I'm depressed. For sure I'm fucking sad. It's a deep sadness. It's like to the core of you. It's broken heart sadness. People don't understand why men have so much heart attacks. I'm like, you got a broken heart. Your broken heart is since you're a kid, but now you're in your 40s and you ain't got nothing to show for. And it doesn't mean that you don't have money. Eh? This is not a question of money. This is not a question of what's my title and where I'm at. This happens to doctors, engineers, truck drivers, people who ain't got fuck all, even a homeless person. The process in the 40s that the nervous system goes through where it reassesses something, I suppose is built into the nervous system's lifeline. So now when you're at that phase and you reassess your past and all the stuff that generally most people have never digested, you're in it for a hard time now. And maybe the best solution you have is to go get yourself some hoe and get a couple of hours of pleasure, if even. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying I understand why a man would do such things. It's like, listen, I got $100, man. I'm gonna get some pussy with a nice young woman with firm titties or fake ass firm titties, whatever it is, with a firm ass, who's gonna pretend that she likes me and pretend that I'm the man and pretend like there's a form of if she's a good prostitute and she does her job well, she's gonna humor you, be kind to you. There may be some kind of chemistry. surface, and I'm like, let me enjoy myself, because what else? I'm gonna go home, it's shit, I go to work, it's heavy. Everywhere I go, it's like, I want some fucking air. I want to feel fucking alive. I think I've done a good job to describe our friend in his middle age and his situation. Thank you.